One of the biggest things that I like to focus on, kind of two sayings in one though, right?
Yeah.
So are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's phenomenal because at the end of the day, we don't know where we're going to be at in a week. We have goals, right? We have this vision where we want to be at in a week, a month, 3 months, a year, 5 years, right? It's all there, but we really just need to focus on that proper the proper way we go about things, right? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. I love that because we have these goals for 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road. We want to be huge. We want to be radio syndicated outside of the state of West Virginia.
That's pretty cool.
We want to keep.
That's aggressive.
Yeah, we want to keep holding these live events.
Positively West Virginia is powered by Breezeline high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, Interaction Media, and Storymaker. With the help of these sponsors, we are able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one featured in today's episode.
Well, folks, we're visiting today with Brian Campbell. He's one of the owners of Pine Room Studios. They're out of Wheeling, West Virginia. Brian, thanks for being on the show, man.
Man, Jim, you guys do a good job. I'm pumped up to be here today.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool. It looks good in here, too.
Cool. Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's great to have you with us, and I'm looking forward to learning more about your business, Pine Room Studios. Tell us what you do, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm one of the co-founders of the Pine Room Studios. We're a multimedia production company located out of Wheeling, West Virginia. Yeah. We create content across all boards. So right now we have 4 podcasts, 7 hours of live radio. We do a bunch of live events throughout the years. And yeah, at the gist of things, we create content and we partner with a bunch of different businesses.
Yeah. So how did you get started in this?
Yeah. So me and a couple of my best friends out of West Liberty University, we played college baseball there. We went to grad school together there. We started a podcast right out of school with some of my best friends and their family members. So there's 8 of us that are on the LLC.
That's cool. I've seen a couple episodes.
Yeah. So 4 best friends. And then along with that, some uncles, some cousins. There's a father-son combo there. It's been a blast, man. We started it kind of as just wanting to do one podcast, and then 1 turned to 2, 2 turned to 3. Then we signed a radio deal, and then we hosted our first live event. And now we're like 10, 15 live events in, 4 podcasts, over hundreds of episodes. So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
we're having a blast.
That's very cool. So take us back to, your inspiration. You grew up, born and raised in Wheeling.
Absolutely.
You go to Wheeling. What high school did you go to?
Yeah, I went to Wheeling Central Catholic.
Central Catholic, okay.
Very, very blessed, thankful.
Yeah.
I come from a phenomenal family. I come from an even better community. Great high school. Went from Wheeling Central to West Liberty University. And then we kind of, you know how it is for any other business, you see an opportunity. You see a problem that you want to solve. And our biggest thing when we started our first podcast was, hey, we see all these great businesses around our state that are kind of undervalued right now, right? If we could just give them better content, we'll bring more people into this state, come from Ohio, come from Pennsylvania, draw them in the doors to come see all the great things that we have to offer. And that's kind of our mission, right? We're trying to just build a better community day in and day out.
Yeah, so I got to ask you, Brian, are you doing this full time? You got an MBA from West Liberty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're doing this full time.
Yeah, so I was really blessed and thankful to receive a great job offer out of school where I went and sold medical equipment. Yeah. Still getting to do that, and that's the full time. But down the road, the idea is to get to do the Pine Room Studios full time, and you know how it is starting a small business from the ground up. They're both full time.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
We're entrepreneurs. They're the only people that'll work 70, 80 hours a week just so they don't have to work 40 hours doing something else.
Yeah.
So
Well, you mentioned falling in love with solving a problem, right? And I love that because that's one of my core beliefs too. Most businesses fail to do that. They fall in love with their solution,
yes,
and they wonder why they're out of business in 2 years, right? But you have this problem. There's a void in content. So talk a little bit about specifically, like, what are you known for? Like podcasts? What is it?
Yeah, I would say community involvement is really what got us kind of off the ground, and it was because we would partner with a bar and we would bring more people in the door than they have seen, or we would partner with an event down at the waterfront and they would bring more people in the door than they've seen. And it's kind of like, how is the Pine Room bringing all these people into our door? And well, it's because we understand the marketing side behind it. We all know how to sell. We know how to, that ROI with a business. It's, hey, whatever you're going to help us out with, we're going to try to double or triple your investment with us. So, the community involvement's really what got us up off the ground, which kind of allowed us to grow our audience that much more, which is allowing us to add new podcasts, more hours of radio on the show. Yeah. And then with that, now we're starting to be known for the content we're making, right? We love to make people laugh. We love to make people interested in a new community thing going on or a new topic. So different stuff like that.
Yeah. It's I don't want to use the word irreverent, but it's almost irreverent, right? It's not like traditional media.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about this radio deal that you signed, because I'm intrigued about that. We're in the world of digital media, right? And now you're in a radio format.
Absolutely.
Give us the details.
Yeah, so 4 of our guys are on there full time: Matt Watson, Jub Delbrug, Jarrett Delbrug, Tyler Cooley, and then Mark Delbrug. So 5 of them. But one of the coolest things for us was WKKX, the Watchdog. So that's the company that brought us on. Wheeling people, phenomenal. Rocky Fitzsimmons, Kayleen Fitzsimmons, these people that kind of brought us up with us have helped us get off the ground just as much as anything else. One of the coolest things in our eyes, it's kind of just like a stock, right? So everything right now is podcasting, YouTube. Radio is kind of taking a step back. So where radio is right now, it's kind of at the bottom of that bell curve. And just like investing in anything else, if we catch it at the right time, the radio, if history repeats itself, we'll get right back to where we think it was. The radio is so much fun. That's 7 hours a week, Monday, Tuesday, Friday. You get guests on there that almost aren't the guests that are going to be on your podcast, but they're calling in. There's so many people engaged throughout that radio each week. So we're very, very lucky to be a part of the Watchdog
family. And what are
family.
the call letters again?
WKKX, the Watchdog, AM 1600.
All right, so it's AM radio too.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Well, just in any media endeavor, distribution is vital, right? Because you can create the content, but unless nobody sees it, it's like that old adage, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody heard it,
absolutely,
the tree actually falls. It's the same thing with people, like podcasts we're talking about. It seems like everybody has a podcast these days.
Exactly.
This episode, this podcast, Positively West Virginia, gets an audience of 16,000 a week. Mm-hmm. That's substantial, right? So what kind of numbers are you guys getting? Are you able to talk about some of those things?
Absolutely. I was just talking about it with a close friend the other day. It's kind of cool to see all the different markets that we hit, right? So our Instagram reel is doing the best right now, right? Anywhere between 2,000 to 10,000 a view. YouTube's doing really well.
Awesome.
Anywhere between 200 to 500 views on that. Then Spotify, your Apple Music, anything like that. So we're really, really interested in this YouTube and Instagram market right now, because it seems like that's where our eyes are getting a lot of draws from. Yeah. But then on the other side of it is we have a really good website, right? So we do a great job of marketing our merchandise. Yeah. We have a new partnership coming up with the Brownie House. I saw them. They did a great podcast with you.
That's awesome.
We're excited to create new content with them, new merchandise with them, and see how many eyes that draws. So kind of focused on the Instagram and YouTube markets right now, but we know for us to grow that Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff has to continue to grow as well.
That's the beautiful thing about digital media also, right, is that you can produce the content and then distribute it through multiple channels.
Yes.
And not necessarily have to pay for that, so to speak, right? You can, but the organic traffic is very powerful as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. So again, when did you guys start Pine Room Studios? What year? Give us the background on that.
So first episode came out in March of 2022. And then as soon as we were 5 or 6 episodes in and we realized that there was actually money on the table, we said, okay, we need an LLC. LLC started in May of 2022. And then the rest is history. The first podcast, which we still do, was called the Pine Room Podcast. That's where 4 of us sit down at a table. We're talking about anything going on in the media that week. Yeah. We've got Bettor's Last Stand now, which is the second podcast. It's a strictly betting show about sports. Third one, Soup and Stuff. That's when I sit down with individuals, business owners, athletes. That's more of a one-on-one interview just like this.
Very cool.
And then the fourth one now is called the Pine Cellar Podcast. So that's our first female-led podcast now, which is 2 females, Sammy LaBelle and Gia Campbell. They do an unbelievable job. And it's really cool to kind of see that new market that they're hitting. There's people engaged that weren't engaged with our type of shows that want to listen to them talk about fashion trends and the drinks that they're drinking and all that good stuff.
Very cool. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Adventure awaits. It's time to hit the road with a brand new Kia from Freedom Kia in Morgantown. Whether you're traveling near or far, you'll love the journey in the all-new 2024 Kia Sorento. Right now, save $3,750 on select 2024 Kia Sorentos. All month long, Freedom Kia is donating $50 for every vehicle sold to Davis Crew Kittens, Inc. Head to Freedom Kia right off exit 153 on I-79 in Morgantown or visit us at www.freedomkia.net.
And we're back. We're visiting with Brian Campbell, one of the co-founders of Pine Room Studios out of Wheeling, West Virginia. Brian, this has been a great conversation so far. Narrow it down. Tell us what Pine Room Studios is in your 30-second pitch.
Yeah.
In other words, somebody says, hey, what do you do, Brian? Give us your 30 seconds.
Yeah, we're a multimedia production company. We specialize in content. We thrive in getting to show an ROI for these businesses, right? So we're going to do anything we can to partner with businesses to create content across all platforms and do what we can to keep moving forward.
Yeah, love it. What would you say is the thing, like if you could pinpoint, because you're doing a lot of stuff a couple years in, what's the thing you're most excited about?
Wow. That's a great question. I would say the most excited for is just this growth. It seems like every time we blink our eyes, we're adding something new, and we're not forgetting about the stuff that we've worked on before. Yeah. They talk about being able to generate different avenues of revenue, and it kind of seems like every new quarter there's a new revenue stream that we're picking up, and whether that was the live events, maybe it is the radio, the podcasting, the merchandise. We recently had a phenomenal partnership with Big Timber Brewing out of Elkins, West Virginia, where we have the Pine Room Lager beer now. Awesome. And just things like that. It's exciting, it's new. Every time we look around the corner there's growth, and I would say that's the most exciting thing right now.
Yeah, I like that. How do you channel that into long term?
Yeah.
In other words, like you're talking about revenue, profitability, sustainability. Those are all very important. How do you see that coming?
Yeah, definitely. So we had the opportunity to work with two phenomenal women, Tara St. Clair and Dr. Carrie White.
Oh, of course, yeah.
They are unbelievable in being able to kind of help you channel that, right? So we were about a year and a half in, just straight chaos, right? We were running around with our heads on fire all the time. We had all these different things, but they weren't under the same umbrella. Now, obviously they were underneath the Pine Room, but it didn't feel like that. We were running around putting all our time towards a live event where our ROI wasn't that high. And then we would put all our time towards some big radio segment we were doing, and it was kind of sporadic. They really helped us focus on, hey, how can we get all of this under one umbrella? How can we focus on all of it to make sure we're generating the most out of each system? And kind of how that worked is we brought on more help. We partnered with West Liberty University, where we now have 5 or 6 interns helping us out with the digital creation, the content. We can focus a little bit more on the sales side with all these different things. So just getting more organized, really, at the end of the day, is what really helped us.
Yeah, well, focus is an important thing in business. Yeah. I always talk about focus being an acronym. Follow one course until successful.
Yes, I like
focus, because it is. I mean, business is you could be taken off track very easily. I was just doing a talk earlier this morning before we started, and I was talking about one of my favorite little statements that I make is, without a clear vision, it's impossible to tell an opportunity from a distraction.
100%.
Because in business, man, everything looks like an opportunity. But most of the time, they're taking us off course.
Definitely.
So talk a little bit about that. Like, what's the vision you have long term for Pine Room?
I think that's so cool that you say that, because one of the biggest things that I like to focus on, kind of two sayings in one, though, right? Yeah. So are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown? Mm-hmm. I think that's phenomenal, because at the end of the day, we don't know where we're going to be at in a week. We have goals, right? We have this vision where we want to be at in a week, a month, 3 months, a year, 5 years, right? It's all there, but we really just need to focus on that proper the proper way we go about things, right? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. I love that, because we have these goals for 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road. We want to be huge. We want to be radio syndicated outside of the state of West Virginia.
That's pretty cool.
We want to keep.
That's aggressive.
Yeah, we want to keep holding these live events. We just put on a beer mile in the city of Wheeling. What it was is it's 4 beers in 1 mile. It's this huge production event that we put on in the city of Wheeling, right on the waterfront. We were bringing people in from Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania. we want to continue to grow things like that, right? So how do we get more people into the state where our office is located, where we're headquartered, where we're not leaving? So yeah, it's how do we continue to grow, and
awesome.
how do we do it the right way?
Yeah, very cool. I think that's it's a very noble way of looking at it too. Geography. You mentioned some of these out of state folks. Where are most of your audience living? Where are they coming from?
Right in that tri-state area right now of that eastern part of Ohio, right? Northern West Virginia, where Wheeling is located, and then southwest into that Pittsburgh region. We love that we kind of have a grasp right now on what we're doing well, but it's always, hey, how do we grow and how do we get better and how do we focus on it as well? Because we don't want to try to reach this new audience in Boise, Idaho, and then lose control of what we're doing here, right? So we're trying to grow and then grow at the right pace, and kind of one of the biggest things that I've learned throughout this whole process was you can't grow too fast. And it sounds crazy because it almost sounds like you're being soft when you say that, but we try to do things so fast sometimes, and it's like, hey, you need to take a step back and make sure you're focusing on what's right in front of you. Get that done correctly, and then you can take that next step. Because if you take that next step too fast, you're just going to hurt yourself in the long run.
Yeah, because you're creating a product for people to consume, right? And if it's inferior, if it's not good, then you're losing.
Absolutely.
Right? So you got to put your energies into creating, and you're in a very creative field for that. What's the most interesting thing you've done so far in business?
Wow.
That you could talk about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know where to start. We've done so many different. We went and golfed with Alex Highsmith. He's with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We golfed with him at PNC Park, right? So people hear PNC Park, that's a baseball field. How'd you golf there? This company came in and shut the whole park down, and you would golf from the upper section and try to hit little spots in the outfield.
That's pretty cool.
We got to go. We all played college baseball. We went and faced softball pitching against West Liberty University. We thought that was hilarious because we thought we would walk right in there, hit all these home runs. We were swinging and missing so much. We've partnered with the Wheeling Nailers. They're part of the organization with the Pittsburgh Penguins. We've gotten to do a lot of fun stuff with them. Different boxing events. I mean, for us, it just feels like it never ends. There's something new and fun coming every day.
Yeah. Now, do you have employees beside the owners?
Yep. So the eight co-founders are the owners, and then the interns are all they're susceptible to go and make commission on their sales and stuff
cool.
like that.
So how's that working out? I mean, obviously you got your MBA from West Liberty, and these interns are coming from the same school.
Yes.
Is that pretty fun, or is it working out for you?
It's really cool to see, like, right, you're a leader on a baseball team, you're a leader in the classroom. Some of it's like leading employees and helping these interns, but at the other end, it is completely different. When you're trying to get someone motivated and trying to figure out what makes them tick and click, and how can you kind of push them to the next step. One of our guys, Jub Delbrug, he's our producer, head of all this content, one of the most talented people I've ever met. These 5 interns that are all content-based, creative-based, he has to kind of find a way to get them to switch onto his same level. It's so fun to watch. It's a learning experience every day. I'm really thankful for the position we're in.
Well, that's cool. Working with creatives all my life, because I've been in the advertising business my entire career.
Yeah.
And, there's a fine line between, hey, we've got a deadline that you got to make, and I want it to be creative and your best work, right? Each project's got to be
100%
killer and better than the last one. So appreciate you sharing that insight with us as well. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
My name's Caitlin Furby. I'm an interior designer with Remarkable Interiors. Our time is very limited. We're trying to do everything we can possible to keep our clients' projects moving and rolling. So Storymaker has been really great for us for putting out how to explain our company. I can sit and agonize about a post. And is this right? Does this sound good? When I use Storymaker, it sounds so beautiful, and it was so easy, and it saves me a lot of time to do the things that I'm really good at.
Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from Breezeline. Get reliable, fiber-powered 500 megabits internet for $39.99 per month with a $100 gift card and price lock guarantee, plus a free modem, free installation, and free Wi-Fi your way. Folks, here at Interaction Media, we're a media company, and we rely on high-speed internet every single day to get our jobs done. That's why we use Breezeline. It's affordable, it's fast, and they're awesome people as well. Learn more at breezeline.com. And we're back. We're visiting with Brian Campbell. He's one of the co-founders of Pine Room Studios in Wheeling. Brian, how do you get the word out there these days? You mentioned social media. Obviously, you're producing content, but how do you attract new people?
It's unbelievable how successful word of mouth is, right? So you can do all the billboards you want, you can do all the social media ads, but when people start to talk, that spreads faster than anything I've ever seen, right? We could put out an Instagram reel, it could do 10,000 views, and you might get 5 followers that way. But when the word of mouth starts to hit and people hear that you put on this big live event in Wheeling or Morgantown or Charleston, then it's like everything just quadruples, and it's all from that word of mouth and you actually getting in front of people and seeing them. So it kind of goes back to how can you work smarter and not harder, right? How can you get all of these people in front of you, either at a live event or at a podcast with a big guest where a lot of people are going to click. So, I mean, you don't really have to reinvent that wheel. It's people have been doing it for hundreds of years.
Yeah, and you're in a good spot to do it, I think, because you're kind of like creating your own market. You're creating your own niche. Right now, in terms of growing Pine Room Studios, what's the biggest challenge you face?
Yeah, I would say our focus, because we were just talking about that. We have so many different things going on right now. So it's, do you want to focus the radio segment? Do you want to focus on the podcast segment? Do you want to do 3 or 4 live events a month? It's how do you focus your time to make sure each one of these is growing at the right time and growing as much as we know it can. So for example, a recent opportunity just came to us to start live streaming high school sports, right? So because we commentated a pickleball tournament, we commentated that beer mile where we get on there and we kind of put our own twist on it, right? It's not that normal where you turn on ESPN and see it. It's more energized. It's a lot of yelling. It's a lot of fun. So little things like that. How do we focus our time in each one of these different segments to make sure we're moving forward?
Yeah, that's very cool. It seems like there's lots of opportunity, right? Like we were talking about the vision, distractions, opportunity. It seems like there's a lot there for you. So I like to ask when I have somebody in the chair across from me about leadership. I'm a student of leadership.
Yeah,
absolutely. And obviously, you mentioned the word leadership, serving on, a baseball team, collegiate. You had a scholarship at West Liberty for baseball, serving on a team, now leading a business. What do you think are the most important attributes or one attribute of a successful business leader today?
Yeah, I think the 2 biggest things are, 1, are you willing to communicate? And 2, are you willing to take a risk? Because at the end of the day, a risk leader is the type of leader that I wanted to be a part of, right? Growing up in a great school system at Wheeling Central, my favorite teachers and my favorite coaches always took risks for us, right? They put us in positions where we knew we were susceptible to grow. We were uncomfortable, right? So I want a good leader to be someone that's willing to take me somewhere that I've never been before. And that's kind of how I take and I look at it every day. I'm very blessed and thankful because one of the best leaders I've ever met, I get to live with every day, right? My fiance, I've been with her for 10 years. She's just a winner. And it's fun to watch her work. It's fun to watch my favorite teachers, coaches, best friends work. Awesome. I want these leaders to be able to communicate. I want them to be able to take risks, because if you don't take risks, you're almost going to stay in that same spot for a long time.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially in today's world, because things are happening so fast. I mean, you got artificial intelligence, AI coming at us at like breakneck speed, way faster than the internet evolved, right? That's going to change everything. And if you're not changing, and moving forward, you're going to die.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just the way it is. That's my opinion.
I think one of the coolest things with that too is like you said, everyone and their mother might have a podcast right now, but for all these people that are doing a podcast, who can survive, and then who can be the next to the next thing that's on that wave, right? So who's going to get on that boat next, right? The people that, the Joe Rogans, the Barstools, the people that were able to get on that podcast trend first, you see where they are, and they busted their ass for it. Yeah. Who can get on that next boat when AI shows us the next thing? Who can be there first and be able to take that to the next step? Yeah. So I think that's really interesting.
I think it's very good to have these conversations, because it is the way it is. And when you talk about taking risks, I just talked about it with my team this morning. There's an old concept that it was instilled in me at a young age working, and I had a leader that told me, the errors are going to happen. As a former baseball player, errors happen,
Absolutely.
Right? You hate errors, but there are errors of omission and errors of commission.
Yeah, I love it.
And so when you're doing stuff, right, you're going to make a mistake. I'd rather have the mistake happening why you're committing something as opposed to omitting. That means you're not doing something.
Absolutely.
So there you go. Maybe that's a different spin on it.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice, Brian, that you would give somebody like yourself, somebody who grew up in West Virginia, maybe can't find necessarily a great full-time job, and maybe is thinking about, maybe I could start a business here.
Definitely.
What's one piece of advice you would give to somebody thinking about starting a business?
I have two there when you ask that question. I would say number one, you got to be proud of where you're from. We have a ridiculous amount of resources here. It's a privilege to be from this state. We got a chance to go travel across this country because of school and sports. We met people from all the way out west, from down south to up north. You got to be proud from where you're from, and you have to be comfortable getting uncomfortable. And the biggest thing with that is you got to be okay with failure. It is miserable some days when you're trying to get to somewhere and it's just right hook after right hook and you're just taking these punches. But how fast can you get back up and start sprinting again? So
perseverance. Yeah,
perseverance, and be proud of where you're come and be okay with failure. I think those are the two biggest things, because when you're proud of where you're from, back to what we were talking about earlier, you don't fall in love with your solution at that point. You're still falling in love with the issue and the problem that you're solving back from the start. So I think those are the two biggest things.
That's great, man. We've covered a lot in this interview, Brian. Is there anything else you think our listeners should know about Brian Campbell's story or the Pine Room Studios?
No, I think I think back to my story and the Pine Room in general. We're all very, very blessed. We come from great families, great communities. I put God first every single day. Amen. I put my family first. God's really great. My family's great. And it's just so funny because it's like every single day something better is happening. And when something bad happens, there's another door that opens right after it. So we just try to keep the faith. We try to push forward. This state's phenomenal. It's gonna take us as far as we want it to take us. So
yeah, as we close out our time, Brian, how can our listeners learn more about you, perhaps even contact you and learn more about Pine Room Studios?
Yeah,
everything you guys are doing.
Yeah, email's business@thepineroompstudios.com. You can find us on Instagram at The Pine Room Studios. You can Google us. We're all over Google. If you like something, give us a shout out. thepineroomstudios.com is the website. Get on there, give us a follow. We interact with everybody, so just go ahead and reach out.
Yeah, it's very cool, man. I appreciate that, and we'll make sure we have links to all that in the show notes and social media as well. I'll give you guys a shout out and get in touch with them. Check out their content. It's good stuff. Once again, our guest has been Brian Campbell. He's one of the co-founders of Pine Room Studios. Brian, it's been an honor to have you here.
Yeah, it's a blast.
To meet you. I love your positivity is contagious, and I love your energy. I think what you're doing is really great, and I just want to encourage you to keep up the great work.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Jim.
Absolutely.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, Interaction Media, Storymaker, and our studio sponsor, Breezeline, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positivelywv.com/sponsor.
Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on the show, drop us a line on our website at positivelywv.com. And of course, we appreciate your comments, encouragement along the way, and your reviews. Positive, 5 stars only. Please, thank you. Anyway, on behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer today, Mr. Justin Schofield, behind the controls, I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.